You and I are the only form of life that we know of today that has the ability to self-regulate our biology in very precise ways. We are such advanced, such highly sophisticated biological systems, what is often called soft technology. We're not talking about computer chips and wires and chemicals. We're talking about neurons and cell membranes and crystalline bone functioning in our bodies in very, very powerful and profound ways that we can self-regulate through thought, feeling, emotion, belief, breath, focus. And if those all sound familiar to you, they happen to be the principles preserved in some of our most ancient and cherished indigenous and spiritual traditions. And I think this is why they were preserved in the ways that they have been, because they hold such a powerful potential in our bodies. Science is only beginning to understand, recognize, and embrace this potential. So the ability to harmonize the heart and the brain, the ability to harmonize the cranial network with the network in the heart. This neural network, this is what is available to you and to me in a way that's available to no other form of life, consciously, at will, and on demand. You and I are the only form of life that we can sit down in a chair like this in a moment in time or wherever you are and say, in this moment, I choose to harmonize the neural network in my heart and my brain, two separate organs, but we harmonize them into one potent system in our bodies. And once we do that, we open the door to a vast array of applications that I talk about in all of the work that I do, the books, the tapes, the seminars, the workshops. I don't want to do that today. What I want right now is I want you to have the access to this technique, because it is one of the most profound techniques to relieve stress very, very quickly. You and I are stressed every day of our lives through the uncertainty of what lies ahead, the uncertainty of finances, of jobs, of careers, of relationships, of where to live, how to live, what's happening to our country, whatever country you live on, what's happening to the planet, because we all live on this planet. That uncertainty triggers a level of stress, a chronic level of stress that depletes the biology, it depletes nutrients, and it compromises our immune system. If you ever needed a strong immune system, man, I can't think of a better time than right now in the midst of a global pandemic. However you think about that pandemic, it is taxing your immune system through stress right now. So let's get into this. I want to just give you a little context so that you know this is not a metaphor, this isn't make-believe. I want you to see what you're accessing, and then let's go through this exercise together. So the first thing that I'd like to share with you is an image of precisely what it is that we're talking about and what we're going to be dealing with, what we're going to be accessing within our hearts. What you're seeing on the screen are called intrinsic cardiac neurons. These are the neurons that we have access to in our heart that also can communicate with our brain through principles of self-regulation that we're actually going to do together here in just a few moments. But I want you to see this so that you know that we're not talking about a metaphor or a make-believe or a wishful concept. You know, so often in literature and in our history, when we talk about the heart, it's from a very lofty philosophical perspective, and it's good. And the heart fulfills those lofty philosophical ideals. But what I'm talking to you about right now is rock solid science. This is peer-reviewed science. These are the neurons located in the heart that form the neural network. The image that you're seeing now, all of those little blue dots illustrate where this neural network is. This begins to tell the whole story. Look at where this neural network is. It's not at the bottom of the heart, it's at the top, near the places, number one, where the valves open and close to send the blood into our bodies, and number two, where the arteries and the vessels enter the heart so that the blood can come into the heart or leave the body. These neurons are around those specific places. Now, the way that the valves open and close send a pressure wave through the blood that is a language unto itself. Your heart speaks a language to your body. through the pressure wave that is created every time the heart beats. And that pressure wave tells the body, it sends a signal, and it tells the body what kind of chemistry to release into the body, whether it's a stressful chemistry or if you're feeling safe, it's a healing and rejuvenating chemistry, or it tells the body what kinds of hormones need to be addressed and how to address those, all from the way that the valve is opening and closing. And that valve opening and closing is largely regulated through these neurons, and the neurons are responding to you and the way that you feel about yourself, about your relationship to the world. If you feel safe, if you feel threatened, if you feel a sense of well-being, or if you feel a sense of high anxiety, chronic anxiety, with no way to reconcile that anxiety. So that is one function of these sensory neurites near the valves. They're doing the same thing near the arteries, the blood that enters, the blood that leaves. These are regulating blood pressure and the way that blood is flowing in the body. You and I live in a stressful world. Our world is changing, as I mentioned earlier, and we're not being given any way to reconcile the stress. We're not given any sense of where the change is leading. All we know is that what we used to know in the past is gone, and we're in the middle of some event that is changing our families, our communities, our society, our nations. It's changing the way we work. It's changing the way we think about money, about security, all of that. But we're not really being given a way to reconcile that so that we have relief from the stress. That's why I want to share this technique with you, because you and I are going to self-regulate our body to give our bodies relief from the stress within, even though nothing may have changed in the world around us to give us that relief. This is a very, very high form of mastery. When you can find relief from a stressful world, even though the stressful world is still out there. It's a very, very high form of mastery. So I want you to see that we're dealing with something that is real. New scanning technologies now make this even more real. What you're going to see is a three-dimensional scan of the human heart where this neural network resides. So what you're seeing right now, this is the scan. I love this technology. And the yellow that you see near the top of the heart, this is where the neural networks, or the neural network of the sensory neurites resides. I'm going to highlight it for you right there. You can see it. So this is important, because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. Once you see this, you have a sense that you're dealing with something real and that you are communicating with a physical part of your body that simply is not acknowledged in the mainstream. Typically, that's beginning to change. But most high school and college textbooks are not talking about this neural network in the way that we are. So now that you know what we're dealing with, how do we use it? How is it applied? You are the only form of life. You and I, we're in this together. We're the only form of life with the ability to consciously self-regulate the neurons in the heart and how they communicate with the neurons in the brain. We're the only form of life that can take the neural network of the heart and the brain, two separate organs, but harmonize this neural network into a single potent system in our bodies. And this is where our highest levels of mastery begin. Because once we create this harmonized state, it opens the door to a plethora, a vast array of potentials and possibilities that are the subject of my books and tapes and videos and audios and workshops beyond the scope of what I'm going to talk about here. Right here, I just want you to have the technique so that you can relieve the stress at least once a day, maybe multiple days or multiple times throughout your day. So what we're talking about visually, two organs, the heart and the brain, but look at this, becoming a single system by sending the correct signal from the heart and the brain, establishing a link, a very low frequency link, 0.1 hertz, really, really low frequency. When we can set up a relationship, send a signal between our heart and our brain of 0.1 hertz, we establish this harmony. All right, now I just have to do this because I am a geologist, and the geologist in me wants you to know why 0.1 hertz is so important. You know, why isn't it A440 for the musicians? I'm a musician, you know, it's one of the questions I asked. Why not A440, or why not some other frequency? 0.1 hertz is a very, very important frequency on this planet. So what you're seeing is a cross-section of the magnetic fields of the Earth. And when we look at what are called the magnetic field line resonance frequencies, I don't want to get really technical, but I want you to see that this is real. What you're seeing is a graph of these field line resonant frequencies. The first spike where the red arrow is, the frequency, it's not 0, it's not 0.2. Look at this, it's 0.1. That first spike is the primary field line resonance frequency of the planet we live on. What that means is that when we harmonize our heart and our brain to that frequency, not only are we harmonizing the systems within us, we are harmonizing our system to the bigger system of the planet we live on. Wow, that is where your healing begins. When you bring your heart and your brain and your biological systems and your organs and your cells and your glands into alignment with the fundamental frequency of the system of our planet, that is where your healing begins. This is where you find your power. Now, if we lived on another planet, someone asked me once, yeah, it would probably be a different frequency, but right now we're on Earth, and 0.1 hertz is the frequency that we want to harmonize to. So when we harmonize our body, and this is I love this image, not only are we harmonizing the systems within us, we're harmonizing ourselves to the planet we live upon. In a very real sense, 0.1 hertz is love to your body. When you create this harmony between your heart and your brain and align your systems, you are loving yourself in a language that your body, your biology recognizes, and that love is now extending. You're harmonizing yourself. You're loving Mother Earth. This is a very, very powerful technique. 3 very basic steps that we're going to use. I'm going to talk you through them. Again, with permission from the Institute of Heart Math, their science parallels so many of the traditions that I've found in studying and living with indigenous peoples today, as well as in the literature of the ancient and the forgotten peoples of our past that recorded the techniques of how they achieve these high levels of harmony. Because when you do this, this is when you relieve the stress. This is when you enhance your immune response. This is when you trigger the longevity enzymes that allow for regeneration, rejuvenation, and healing, and so much more we talk about in the other programs.